Well, hello and welcome back to Module 6 of this Games in Schools course. And we're talking about why is it important to teach about games. And fundamentally, the underlying thread of this last module is around internet safety and responsible use, remembering that our games consoles, our handheld gaming devices, our mobile phones, our tablets, our smartphones, potentially are all connected to the internet. In this first unit then we're going to be talking a little bit about PEGI and parent controls, and then we'll go on to, in the other videos, talk about the evolution of games and the importance of talking to children about games and their gaming habits. Now, some of you might be thinking, what is PEGI? You might not have heard about it before. PEGI stands for the Pan-European Game Information. It's an initiative which has come out of the Interactive Software Federation of Europe, the same people that are supporting this course, the one that you're on now. And even if you're not familiar with PEGI as a term, if you went to their website, www.pegi.info, you would certainly be familiar with the symbols that you saw on the website if you've bought a computer game either for yourself or if you've bought a computer game for your children. The symbols on the website are very easy to recognise, and most adults across Europe recognise what these mean now according to the latest data that we have. So basically then what PEGI is it's a classification system for video games that you would buy in the shop. And there are two parts to this classification. One is the age classification, and the second part is the type of content that might be included in the game and the sort of things that you might have to watch out for. So one of the ways that games are classified then is around age range, and this is about how old you have to be in order to play the game, or indeed buy the game in some countries. So it's how suitable is the game. So you need to be over 3, over 7, over 12, over 16, or over 18 for games that have got particularly difficult or troublesome content in it. Interestingly, the only country that's different in is in Portugal, because in Portugal, because of legal reasons, the age ranges are slightly different for the younger age category. So it's over the age of 4 and under the age of 6, rather than 3 and rather than 7. Now, whether you agree or disagree with that, what it does tell us is that it does illustrate that children, regardless of which country they live in, do mature, in different ways, and may be victims if they come into content they're not emotionally ready for. So games, first of all, are classified by age range. Now, if we look at how different games are classified, and unfortunately we've only got the 2008 data, that's the only information which is available on the PEGI website. One of the things that you'll maybe notice straight away is that in the age 3+ category, you've got nearly 5,000 video games. Over 50% of all video games were in that category, and in the 18+ category, you've got just over 400 games, only 4% of the total amount. And what's interesting about this is just to make the point that that quite often in the press and the media, it's the video games that are highly violent or highly sexualized, or quite gruesome, that hit the headlines. But actually it's a very small amount of video games that we've actually got in circulation through European countries. And I think that's a really important thing, because we as educators are trying to promote games and games-based learning to improve children's education. The other way that games are classified is via content, and you can have a look along these symbols here to see the types of content that children might be subjected to. So, for example, there might be violence, there could be bad language such as swearing, there could be reference to drug use, there could be games of a sexual nature, there could be games with gambling in them, they could be very scary, they could be quite racist in some ways, or derogatory towards a certain culture, or interesting, the last one is they could be internet enabled. And the interesting thing is that even on a lot of those games now for 3+, you've got that internet enabled warning sign which comes up. The other rating sign that you so often see is a sign that is just called PEGI OK. And this is a relatively new initiative, and the reason it was developed was to try and get around these games that you don't buy off the shelves in the supermarkets, but these kind of online games which are increasingly appearing. Maybe they're designed as apps, or maybe they're downloaded from websites. And what this means is that basically, if it's a PEGI OK, it's pretty much suitable for all, and you've got nothing to worry about. So again, this is a symbol we're starting to see more and more across different websites. PEGI's produced a few useful resources which are good for educators and also good for parents. One of them is the PEGI app, where you can quickly see the classification of a variety of games. It's available for the iOS, Apple's iOS, Google's Android operating system, and the Microsoft Windows 7 phone. It's not available for the Windows 8 phone yet, but I'm sure that that will be on the way. So a useful way so that you can see how games are classified. The last thing I wanted to kind of mention in this section is around kind of parental controls, and just to remind ourselves that actually all of the games consoles or all of the devices that we've talked about in this course where you can play games or develop games have all got very, very sophisticated parental controls. And there's a very, very good place on the PEGI website where you can go onto it and you can see, or you can very, very quickly link to manufacturers' guidelines on how you adjust and how you change the parental controls on your device. And the very last thing I just wanted to mention was that because of the rise of online games, as well as having PEGI, PEGI.info, there's also now a sister website which is pegionline.eu, and this talks about online safety codes, in particular, around gaming, and the social uses of gaming as well. So PEGI is a very, very important thing. I think that we're very, very lucky to have that in Europe. It's important that we're aware of it. It's important that children understand it, but most importantly, it's important that we get those messages out to parents.